Another behavior around problem solving is the pursuit of the ideal state. As legendary football coach Vince Lombardi once said, perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. The idea behind this is that it is the pursuit of that ideal state that drives us, that pushes us forward, that ultimately leads us to the next problem that we want to solve. In many ways, this pursuit is even more important than exactly what definition of our ideal state might be. An imperfect ideal state, but one that drives us forward, still drives us forward. And we can always modify our understanding of that ideal state over time. So the pursuit of ideal state is the energy both around our problem solving as a whole. Our next gap is not just about returning to normal, but about achieving that ideal state, that next gap that we want to close. But also, it's a behavior within problem solving. It helps shape how we think about what solutions we want to choose out of the many potential variations. So how we pull ideal state thinking into problem solving becomes fundamentally important. Now, one of the best articulations of this was the author Robert Fritz, who coined the term creative tension. Creative tension is the tension between our current reality, our understanding of current reality, which a lot of problem solving is really meant to drive, and that ideal state condition, what we want to pursue. There's a tension between those, and that tension drives our creativity, drives our innovation, drives our energy to move us forward. Tension is very different than stress in this way. Stress is knowing I'm not where I'm supposed to be, but not knowing what to do about it. Tension is a clear understanding of current reality, driven by much of our problem solving, that vision of the ideal state, what good looks like, and the opportunity to close that gap. Problem solving becomes one of the mechanisms to close that gap between our current reality and our ideal state. Now, one reason that organizations struggle with this is that it's often not listed as a deliberate step in our problem solving. It's not a section of the template, and so therefore not a step that needs to be done. But that doesn't mean it's not a critical behavior that helps inform how we think about it. So understanding the difference between a step and a behavior becomes fundamental to weave this in to our problem-solving effort. Now, one thing that's important to understand is that the ideal state really has two components, a what and a how. Many people think by just having a really aggressive goal that they have an ideal state. 0 defects sounds really great. It is an ideal state, but it doesn't include a how. Really, to get a true ideal state, you need both. You need a target, which is the what or the outcome you want to achieve. So as an example, you might say your target is to not pass defects outside of a person's workstation. That is an outcome. That is a what. That is a target that's part of your ideal state. But what about the how? Well, one how to achieve it might say you're going to put incentives in place where no person should let a defect go. They should take personal responsibility for their work. Now, that's a perfectly acceptable ideal state. However, I might choose a different ideal state. I might say that what we really want to do is clearly and quickly connect help to the problem where it occurs. That's a very different how. And when you talk about that as the target condition compared to the target is don't pass on a defect. The target condition is how we achieve that. The method or the approach or what good looks like in terms of the system of work that we've designed. And so you put those two together, you have an ideal state. And it helps inform what kinds of solutions get you going in the direction you want. If I chose that ideal state condition, that target condition, of quickly and clearly connecting help to the problem, then and-on starts to become an acceptable solution as a process to help close my gap. When I look at both the target, outcome, and target condition, how, or method, put them together, they create a far more illustrative ideal state that helps inform what types of solutions I'm really looking for. Now, how is an ideal state different than a target condition. Fundamentally, the ideal state is our ultimate goal, whereas target conditions are many steps along the way. Our ideal state fundamentally should never change. Now, our understanding of it may change because when we're far away from it, it's not very clear. The closer we get, the more clarity and refinement that it gets. Also, we may not be able to articulate it very well, and the closer we get, we find new words to help to describe our ideal state. The target conditions are stages along the way. Now, why is this so important? Well, because our ideal state helps shape which next gap we want to choose and helps us create multiple pathways to get there. If I describe my ideal state as having every manager being able to coach problem solving to a standard, there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot of gaps I need to close there. Now, I could choose a target condition, a next step along the way, of having every manager be able to coach. Notice I've left out problem solving. Notice I've left out to a standard. I've just built the capability of coaching. A very different alternative target state would be every manager can coach problem statements to a standard. Much narrower in some sense, but further along in another. Those are two different target states, both of which get me closer to that ideal state. Which one I pursue, I'm not going to pretend doesn't matter. It matters a great deal. Which target condition helps me more now? But having that ideal state helps make sure that each target state I describe moves me closer and closer to that ultimate ideal state. It helps inform our ability to close that ultimate gap that we want to close. In short, our ideal state helps shape the direction of the solution space of our problem solving. One way this shows up is in the language that we choose. Now, I don't really require that you use a particular set of language, but consider the alternatives of developing solutions versus developing countermeasures. Which one sounds better to you? Well, to most people, solutions sounds permanent. It means we won, we've solved the problem, job well done, mission accomplished, move on to the next one. Countermeasure sounds very temporary. How on earth could that be better? Well, because with ideal state thinking, we're never done. We always have further to go in the pursuit of that ideal state. And so countermeasures are solutions that are meant to be temporary. It's just the best we can do for now. It's just the best we can do, a portion of the pathway along to our ideal state. And so whether you use the language or not doesn't matter to me. It's how we think about what we ultimately put in place. Do we think about it as permanent? Or do we think about it as temporary, just the best we've come up with so far? Now, for an illustration of this, consider the solution of andon as a process. If you look at Toyota, they've been using this solution for decades. Well, that certainly doesn't sound very temporary to me. It sounds very permanent. But they've actually tried to experiment. They've tried new approaches. They know what their ideal state, and they're constantly testing new ways to get there. They just haven't found anything better to replace andon along the way of that ideal state. But if they did, it would be gone in a heartbeat because they found a better way in the pursuit of their ideal state. Think about all of our solutions as just the best we can do today in the pursuit of our ideal state, so that we're always looking for and always open to new solutions that move us closer. Now, where does our ideal state come from? How is it informed? Well, ultimately it is informed by the collective experience, knowledge, and practice from our earlier problem solving. The more problem solving we do, the more we experience and gain the knowledge of what works and what doesn't. What's cause and effect? What types of solution are the simplest, most elegant, most effective solutions for the types of problems in our work environment? The more we do that, the more we gain knowledge and experience and wisdom through problem solving, the more we shape our ideal state of what good looks like. Now, this only works, of course, if we make deliberate pursuit of knowledge a key part of our problem solving. Perhaps more importantly, our ideal state is also informed by our organization's purpose or why. Whether it's our company, whether it's our team, whether it's just our own. What is our purpose? What is our why? That is, in some ways, you would argue, the ultimate in ideal state. And it should inform what we're trying to achieve. Now, as an example, Amazon's purpose in many ways is customer excitement, customer satisfaction. Every customer experience is excellent. And that means that every ideal state should move them closer to that purpose. That purpose informs their ideal state, whether it's the shopping experience or the return experience. As an alternative, Menlo Innovations has an explicit why or purpose of joy. A very different ideal state, but one that starts to inform their solutions. Which solutions get us closer to creating joy in the workplace? And when they start to look at those purpose of the organization, it starts to shape how we think about ideal state. Ultimately, don't think about ideal state as a step along the way. Think of it as a behavior. Whether we're finding the next problem or working on the one in front of us, do we know what good looks like? Do we have something that stretches us beyond what we're capable of today? Do we have something that creates tension, that drives our creativity and our energy in the pathway forward with our problem solving?